Templar PvP Healer remains one of the most durable and survivable playstyles in PvP in the Elder Scrolls Online. In this video, I'm going to show you an updated build for the Waking Flames DLC that you can use solo, small group, or zerging around. I'll have flexible skills and gear options, as well as an in-depth discussion on weapon choice and finding the sweet spot between burst healing and self-survivability. With so much outgoing damage in ESO PvP, a healer is one of the most thankless but needed roles, especially the more serious you get. I would look at picking this up if you struggle with survivability and you just want to get the feel for PvP without being a 1vx master. And I'm going to show you what I've created, the Fulcrum PvP Magplar Healer build. So should you play this build? I said it once and I'll say it again. The Templar is the easiest class to get your head around, and the Templar Healer is thus the easiest of the easy peasies. Essentially, you have a burst heal with Honor the Dead that doesn't need to be aimed. You can literally just hold block and spam Breath of Life or Honor the Dead, whatever morph you choose, and be very survivable. Usually when I'm training someone new in PvP, this is exactly what I teach them. Hold block, hit Breath of Life till you run out of stamina, hit a tripod, calm down, take a deep breath. So Templar healers excel at that, excel at turtling up, providing burst healing to themselves in groups, and are just extremely survivable. Plus, the gear with this setup is extremely easy to get a hold of, so it's not going to take you hours and hours and hours to farm this build. And you can play at an extremely high level with very high MMR and battlegrounds, going up against some of the sweatiest and hardcore PvPers out there and do just fine. So this build is great if you want to be part of a group, you don't want to die instantly, and you want to get your head around PvP. I would pick this up and start here. Trust me, it's very survivable. And that's the pros. It's very simple skill layout, so it's not complex. And that's exactly what you need with high intensity PvP. Something you can instinctively cast, figure out, and click. This is it. The gear is extremely easy to obtain. You can get some overland sets, some craftable, and do just fine. It's great for new players in PvP because the skills, the gear, and how you play it are just so simple. The cons of this particular build is it prioritizes self-healing overall burst healing. So some builds will prioritize getting a massive, huge burst heal, but they'll die very easy. This build, you're not going to kill me very easily, but I'm also not going to do 13,000 Honor the Dead burst heals. And it's not meant for massive area healing. So I sacrifice a lot of area healing for small group, single target healing. And that's the cons. So let's get into the gear first. Before we do that, we're going to talk about the weapon choices. So Restoration Staff is kind of an obvious one. The benefit of the Restoration Staff, if it's not obvious here, is you get Restoration Staff ability. So one really powerful heal over time, Radiant Regeneration, and also one powerful ultimate, Life Giver. Those are the two Restoration Staff abilities I primarily use, along with Combat Prayer if I'm going to do larger group PvP. And the advantage of Restoration Staff too is fully charged heavy attacks just restore so much resources, as well as giving you major mending for a brief time. So you want a light attack weave primarily as a healer because it procs your weapon enchant and or poisons if you're using, but that fully charged heavy attack, timing that to get your burst of major mending along with the flood of resource sustain is a real reason why we're using Restoration Staff along with the abilities. The backbore of choice is Sword and Shield, so you can either pick Sword and Shield or Ice Staff. Ice Staff in the Destruction Staff skill line Trifocus, if you take out the 2 points in this passive, blocking with an Ice Staff will actually give you the same mitigation as Sword and Shield, and it will still cost stamina. So we're trying to use stamina to turtle up and block and reduce the incoming damage. You can go with either choice. I like Sword and Shield because you can use the ultimate and it's very handy, but Ice Staff is an option. Regardless, on your back bar, Sword and Shield, you're going to turtle up, and what this means is you're holding block to reduce incoming damage so you can think, so you can survive. So when a bunch of players jump in on me, they're about to hit Dawnbreakers and stun me and try to kill me in 1 second, great. I'm going to go to my back bar, I'm going to take a deep breath, I'm going to hold block. I'm going to use my stamina to get my head around what's happening and then also burst heal up. When it's safe, I zip on out with a race against time, I swap bars with my Resto Staff, rinse and repeat. I would pick Sword and Shield, so that way you can use your stamina pool, which is going to be large, to reduce the incoming damage, allow you to get time to think, and allow you to survive. Now let's talk about the gear choices, and we're going to go with 2 5-pieces and a monster helm. I'm going to prioritize selfish survivability over something like burst healing. So when we talk about selfish, what we really mean is something to benefit me, and so resource sustain is key. I already talked about the weapon choices, so we're going to use a hefty amount of stamina to block frequently when we're taking a lot of damage. We're going to use a skill to get back stamina as well, and we're also going to use a 2-piece Monster Helm Engine Guardian, which can be obtained in Darkshade Caverns 2, Veteran Dungeon, and what this is going to do is give you a beam of one of 3 resources. All 3 are extremely valuable. So every time you're casting an ability, you have a 25% chance to proc this. It seems like it's always out. Another thing about Engine Guardian, besides the resource sustain that's incredible, it acts as a decoy. I cannot tell you how many times people have in-capped my Engine Guardian, shot a meteor at it, tried to nuke it, and it saved me from taking damage. So regardless if you don't like it for the resource sustain, you're good on that end, it's just a really handy decoy and people will hit all the time. So how I use this is, if stamina's proccing and I'm low on magic, I'll just hold block to reduce the incoming damage. If I'm low on stamina and magicka procs, I just sit there and spam my burst heal over and over and over. And if health procs, well, obviously I'm just going to take the healing passively and fully charge a restoration staff to get back resources. Either one of those resources that proc, I have a game plan, making Engine Guardian the best selfish sustain set out there. If you're good with sustain, there's a flexible option, Magma Incarnate, from the new Dread Cellar dungeon. This is going to have a massive impact on your group's increasing damage along with survivability. So if you're in a super coordinated, sweaty pre-made, I would swap this out for Magma Incarnate. So Dagger Chicory is going to be the 5-piece, and it's going to give you one of 5 major buffs, all of which are extremely important, and it's going to be very easy to maintain full uptime with this on our restoration staff. So whether you light attack and or heavy attack, you're going to be able to proc this one of these buffs that are very, very needed. There is some redundancy with major mending because you're going to get this for a fully charged heavy attack using the restoration staff, and our back bar is going to have major protection. But you're going to get one of these 5 regardless of what bar and what situation, and they almost all matter and are super survivable. And it's just such an easy 5-piece to get because it's craftable. So proc this via light attack or heavy attack weaving on the restoration staff and maintain a very high uptime. The next 5-piece is Grace of Gloom, obtained in Overland, Somerset, or bought from guild traders. When you take damage with this, you're going to keep it on at all times, and it's going to cause you to heal every 2 seconds and gain major evasion, reducing damage from area attacks by 20%. It has a 20-second cooldown, but this thing will be up a lot of the times, and the major evasion, not only the healing, makes you incredible survivable. Notice that it scales with max health, meaning the power of the heal gets amplified by the more health you have. We actually spec this character out to have a lot of health. Reason being is our skills and our gear choices get more powerful for selfish survivability the more health we have. As a peeler, your number one goal is to survive. That's obvious. So I would go with something like stacking a lot of max health, because if I die, most likely everyone else is going to die either way. So I'd rather have less magic, less healing potential, but have incredible survivability. So I'm very rarely going down, and I'm definitely not the first to go down. So this 5-piece, again, is built on max health. That's why we're going to spec that way. Now, if you're playing in a super coordinated group, you could flex this out. A couple different options is Gossamer. This is from Cradle of Shadows in a 5-piece set that gives the major evasion buff for 1 second. It's not going to have 100% uptime for you or your group, but if you're rolling heals over time, you can see a large uptime for you and your group. So if you're playing a larger group, I would swap this out. Also, you can go with Spell Power Cure. This is from White Gold Tower, and it's give you major courage, essentially amplifying you and your group's damage significantly. Again, it's really important to overheal, constantly doing heals over time and allowing that to get a massive amount of uptime. But I would start with Grace of Gloom because it's so dang survivable and it's just easy to get a hold of. And that leaves our back bar, Sword and Shield, Blessing of Pontinence, and this is obtained in Velastra's Elite Gear Cyrodiil vendor, or you can buy it from the traders. We're only going to have the 2-piece active at a time, so it's going to reduce your damage taken from players by 3%. And it's just a great back bar 2-piece while blocking. So when you go to your back bar, you're going to need defensive, whether it's armor, crit resistance, or this. It's going to reduce your damage, allowing you to survive, catch your breath, find out what you need to do next, and keep on moving. So as far as the armor weight goes, we have this chart that I showed you a little bit earlier. I go with 4 heavy and 3 light. This gives me the sweet spot in terms of sustain, along with tankiness and max health. I've experimented with 1 or 2 medium armor. Medium armor is going to give you spell damage, thus increasing the amount of healing you do, and I didn't find it useful. I also like 1 or 2 reinforced traits on the heavy pieces, specifically chest or legs, and the rest M-Pen. I've experimented with sturdy and well-fitted in a combination of both, but stick with M-Pen if you just need something to set and forget. Also, spend the money to get prismatic enchants at least on the head, chest, and legs. This will give you a generous stat pool, and you need a lot of health, obviously, but you do need a lot of stamina as well. And then what I do on the glyphs on the jewelry is I go all spell damage and go with the Atronach Mundus Stone. I found that the most beneficial for the balance because it allows me to get my spell damage from the jewelry and my sustain that way, but you can do a combination however you want. Let's move on to the skills now that we understand the gear and why max health is useful for our skills. Bar 1 is going to be a restoration staff, and this is going to primarily be for healing and then fully charge heavy attacks when we need resource sustain. First ability up is Radiant Regeneration. This is simply a great heal over time that can proc various sets. It just consider a must to keep up at all times, and I start left to right typically in priority on my bar just so it's very simple to use. The other morph heals quicker, but you're going to have to cast it more frequently, especially if you're playing in a large group. Radiant Regeneration can be a lot easier to maintain uptime. Next ability up is Purifying Light. So what this is going to do is a lot of different things. It's going to proc minor sorcery, giving you and your party increased spell damage, thus increased healing. It's going to generate ultimate for you via the Dawn's Wrath passive, along with some burst damage. So it's going to soak up damage on a target. The targets, they can't dodge this or avoid this, so it's very, very handy if you put it on Night Blades. And it's also really good to put this on the target if you're the shot caller in your group, so everyone clearly marks the target and knows exactly who to kill. You'd be shocked at how many battlegrounds I see, and it's 4v4v4, but everyone's off on their own, tacking different things. Common sense PvP, instance-based PvP, or in Cyrodiil, whatever you are, you want to attack the same target. And this is a great indicator to do that. Plus, it provides a lot of burst damage, and you'd be shocked at how many kills I get just using this single target ability. Another advantage of this ability is once it explodes, it's going to heal around that target. So I use it if someone's attacking me. I'll place it on them and I'll sit there and let them beat the crap out of me because on their feet will basically heal me a lot. Plus it's going to heal your melee a lot. So I can't stress enough how impactful this ability is. Next ability up is going to be Repentance. So this ability here is your flex spot. And the reason I like it is it allows you to suck up corpses for stamina. So what you're going to be doing is using your magic pool, obviously, for providing burst heals and resource sustain and so forth, but you're going to use Repentance when things die to get your stamina pool up. So there's a bunch of advanced ways I survive using this, whether it's dodge rolling when I'm out of magic if I have extra stamina, or holding block on my back bar, sword, and shield to mitigate and lower the damage. So Repentance is going to allow you to fill up that gas tank a lot quicker, along with using potions, try potions specifically, in between to get that stamina up. You pretty much always want to have at least 5,000 stamina left in the tank because you want to save 5,000 or more for a crowd control break. If you drop below 5,000 and someone CCs you with a hard CC, you're going to die. So when I'm actually playing and looking at this build, what I'm doing is making sure I do not fall below 5,000 stamina. What I'll do when I'm getting right around 5,000, I'll turn my brain and say, you can't block anymore. So I'll put up Living Dark, which we'll get to a little bit later. I'll go to my sword shield bar and I'll just spam my burst heal until my magic is gone. If my magic goes off, then I look at Life Giver using the ultimate to survive. If I don't have any ultimate, I don't have any magic, I look at that tripod, see if that's back up, and I pop that. And I piggyback and forth between my magic pool for burst healing survivable and my stamina pool for holding block and surviving and lowering and mitigating the damage. Consider flexing this out for something like Combat Prayer if you're playing like in a Zerg group. It's great AoE healing, plus it gives minor resistances and minor berserk for a DPS boost. Next ability up is Luminous Spear. It provides a unique resource sustaining tool and has great passives for slotting with the Adric Spear skill line. So you're going to have to chuck this. It's not going to be like Orb where you throw it out in front of you, giving you a huge advantage in a 28-meter radius. So typically when I'm playing with a DPS, we have to kind of know how this works as a team. I usually throw it on top of them when they're charging into their primary attack. Reason being, when they attack someone, they're going to use probably a lot of gas and resources to delete them and destroy them, and or they're going to get stunned and take pressure as soon as they charge in. So you want to put a spear on top of them so they can use that synergy, get a flood of resources, and stay active in the fight. Your goal when you're healing someone is to allow them to put the throttle down, doing as much damage as possible without having to maintain their own self-healing. Allowing, just like PvE, for DPS to do just that. DPS, damage, big damage. So more resource sustain, more healing coming in, allows them to throttle down and continue to put the pressure on the opponent. Next ability up is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful survivability tool in the Templar kit right now, and it's a bit overtuned to be honest. It's Living Dark. This ability scales off your max health pool, making us extremely survivable with around 40,000 health. It's going to put a bubble on you for 6 seconds. The downside is it costs a lot of magic, so you have to be pretty conservative with casting this thing. Once you do, as you take damage, you're going to heal yourself for a ton of healing every half second. So the more pressure on you, this can proc, well, obviously twice a second. It's going to last 6 seconds, but what you're going to do with this is you're going to cast this when you anticipate damage or you immediately take damage. I cannot stress this enough, however you set your bar up so it makes sense to you, to put this in the exact same spot as our burst heal that we put on our back bar. That way, regardless of what bar you get caught on, you click the exact same button for survivability. So you click this, bar swap, go back, and then you do your burst heal. You're going to be almost impossible to kill. Next ability up is Life Giver. This is an insane survivability tool for you and your group, and primarily what I use in PvP as a healer, so it's very low cost, it's mobile, and it's just going to keep you and your party up, casting a bunch of abilities in one. The duration is very small, around 5 seconds, so the way I use this when I'm trying to survive is I pop it. I make sure I'm on my resto bar, and I know that I can do pretty much 2 fully charged heavy attacks without dying. So those 2 fully charged heavy attacks in that 5-second window is going to allow me to get a flood of resources, probably going back to almost full max magic, thus allowing me to heal a lot more, plus giving me major mending as well. So as soon as you pop this, your heals are running, your purifying lights procced on someone, you do fully charge, 2 fully charges, you get major mending, you're ready to throttle down on the healing. Now we're going to switch bars and go sword and shield. This is for defensive and burst healing. So I put my big burst heal on here, and let's start with that, the number 5 key, Honor the Dead. So it's a burst single target heal, which can be block casted, meaning you can hold block and you can cast it, making it a perfect turtle ability. It's super defensive. You start tunneling me and 4 people are beating on me, I hold block, I start there and spam cast it. If Engine Guardian proc stamina, I can just sit there and hold block and spam cast this thing forever. No, it's not going to heal a bunch of targets, but you don't need it to. You needed to keep up the lowest HP target and get them around 4,000 to 6,000 heals out of this. If you have more max magic, if you have more spell damage, this will heal for a lot more. But you can run around with 25k max health and 40k max magic, and you're just going to get nuked and deleted. So I would highly recommend scaling that healing down, scaling your max magic down, increasing your max health. Because if you run around, again, with low HP and you're a healer, you're going to be targeted priority number 1 and die instantly over and over and over and not have a lot of fun. So this is not PvE. It's not about who gets the biggest burst heal. It's about who can optimize their group, keep them up just a little bit longer, and survive. Moving back to the first bar on our key, that's Channel the Focus, and this is our resistance buff. Consider this a priority. It increases our healing via minor mending, and it gives us resource sustain. The second ability up is Blinding Flare. So I no longer use Extended Ritual. This it was your cleanse and a go-to for Templars, and now most players are running Plague Break. If you cleanse, it's going to do a crazy amount of damage to you and people around you. So I went with something like Blinding Flare that gives us major protection, reducing our damage on our back bar at all times, and is a great counter to gankers. Consider this a flex spot on your back bar if you like something else, slot it here, and I would highly recommend not using Extended Ritual, especially the higher MMR you go. Next ability up is Race Against Time from the Sigic Order. This is simply our mobility tool. So we're immobilized, we're getting snared, we're getting bombarded with bow. It gives us a major mending burst of speed for a short window, 4 seconds, but it can get us out of dodge in a hurry, and I can't tell you how useful this is. Binding Jabs are next ability up, single target knockback and stun. It's used for punting people off of you. So if you're taking a lot of pressure or someone at range is firing off frags, just boom, knock them back with this. That leaves Solar Prison, our ultimate. It's just an insane burst damage tool. So what I do is throw this huge grapefruit on, especially when people are dogpiling me. So if a bunch of people are jumping on me, there's 4 players beating the crap out of me, I'm turtle up, I'll drop this Solar Prison right on top of me. And usually friendly will come over and try to peel them off of me and hit that synergy Grav Crush. I've seen people just get one shot with Grav Crush. If you have the Harmony jewelry along with a lot of spell damage, this thing is a must. And then for big, huge Zerg keep fights, I would swap this out for something like Reviving Barrier for the Alliance War skill line, because it allows you to pre-buff and jump in those huge, big keep fights without getting nuked to oils. And that's the skills. The rotation here is very simple. Your number 1 priority is to maintain your armor buff, channel focus. So you gotta maintain this, put it down constantly. Number 2 is maintain the heals over time, however many people are in your party with Radiant Regeneration. And then now you're gonna maintain Purifying Light on your primary melee target attacking you or whoever your group's gonna focus on. You're also gonna pre-cast Living Dark while anticipating pressure or reactively handling pressure, making sure to keep that on the exact same button as your back bar so that way Honor the Dead, you know a burst heal survivability, it's the exact same button. Next, you're going to use Race Against Time for mobility and escape. So when you're snared and mobilized, you need to get a dodge, catch up with your group, boom, pop this thing. And then you're going to stay on top of repentances using corpses to get back stamina. That way you can always block CC break and dodge roll. And then you're going to rely on Life Giver Ultimate for high mobility healing, and when you should drop the house, Solar Prison, you're going to drop Nova, that grapefruit, on top of you and or players so they can use this energy and absolutely delete the groups. Next, we're going to talk about Miscellaneous, and the first thing up is what race should you be if you wanted to get the most out of this build. When you're watching this footage here, I'm actually playing on the PCEU server with 500 champion points, and I'm playing as a high elf. If I were to start over and I just wanted the optimal race, I would go with an Argonian. Argonian is going to give you the most god tier tankiness possible, making it the perfect fit to be an annoying healer. It's going to give you increase your healing done by 6% life mender. That alone is going to stack with major and minor mending, making you heal for a lot without a lot of spell damage. Plus the resource sustain from popping a potion is too good to pass up. Number 2 is a Breton. This is insane sustainability for magic users. So you're going to have a lot of max magic. You're going to reduce magic cost by about 7%. You're going to have increased spell resistance, which is awesome. And it's going to double if you're chilled, burning, concussed, and so on. And it's going to have magic recovery. So it's incredible if you just want completely burst healing, wearing heavy armor, and allow you to still maintain the resource sustain. Number 3, I'd probably go with an Imperial. So this red diamond passive is going to reduce your cost of everything. Your ultimate, blocking, sprinting, dodge rolling, CC breaking, everything. It's going to give you a lot of max health and a lot of max stamina. No, it's not going to give you spell damage. No, it's not going to give you magicka. But it's going to give you the blend of everything you need to be super survivable. And that max health is going to scale very well with our gear and our skills, making max health, ironically, better than max magic for pure selfish survivability. Consumables, the food I go with is Clockwork Citrus Fillet. I use on Tri Potions, and I keep some move abilities on me along with Stealth Detect for annoying Nightblades. Mundastone, I stick with the Atronach, and then I run all spell damage enchants on my jewelry. For attributes, I spec pretty much almost fully into max health. Really, I want around 16,000 stamina is my second resource that I want to get. So I would highly recommend 35,000 health or more, and then go to about 15 to 16,000 stamina, dump the rest into max magicka. This will change on your champion points, your gear, your race, all of that, but that's what I'd primarily focus on. Champion points. So we're going to start with the Warfare Blue. I go defensive with very little focus on healing because, again, you're seeing a trend here. I want to survive. I go with 3 defensive ones: Ironclad, Unassailable, and Duelist Rebuff, with 1 burst healing, focus mending to get my Honor the Dead to do as much as possible. And then for the fitness tree, I go Boundless Vitality for max health. I go with Bracing Anchor to increase my block mitigation while I'm holding block, Sustained by Suffering to reduce damage, and Pain's Refuge. Sustained by Suffering to increase my resources when I'm taking damage over time, and Pain's Refuge to reduce my damage taken while I have damage over time effects. Green Tree doesn't really affect performance, but Treasure Hunter, Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, and Steed's Blessing. And this is a build, so it's incredible. It's very useful, very similar to what I ran in about 2017. The gear is extremely easy to get. The skills are extremely easy to get. The learning process is getting the butterflies out, meaning when you take a lot of pressure, whether you're dueling in real life and you're wrestling for the first time or you're doing PvP, you get butterflies. You don't know how to react, how to instinctively survive. Once you get those butterflies out, you can move on to other builds and kill and do a lot of damage and so forth. But I would say pick this build up to get those butterflies out. Everyone can be a healer and you can impact the team, Cyrodiil, Battlegrounds, and be very survivable, giving your team a chance to win. Everyone sees these cool, builds where everyone's dying and they're just absolutely murdering everybody, but it didn't start that way. You start by learning how to survive first, learning how to impact the team, and then moving on to something like that. So pick this up as a great place to start, as a great place at endgame if you want to provide something to your team that's unique and different, and change it for the way that it works for you. Also consider following me on Twitter at Deltiasgaming1 to interact with me, watch live on twitch.tv/Deltiasgaming, and consider becoming a Patreon, which allows me to create more of these videos. Thanks for watching.